I joined the British Army in 1957 at the age of 17 and a half. And within 6 months I was in Cyprus, which was then in terrorist duty. After 1960 I went to Rhodesia, which is a colonial police force, essentially a paramilitary police force. And I got interested in America because I was a parachutist, and America was the headquarters of the best parachutists in the world. Looking down as we came in, we were coming in very fast. I saw an awful lot of North Vietnamese dead lying out there. Some of them were burned black. I turned to Fantino, my radio operator, and said, "Boy, they cleaned them up." I said, "You know, there's a lot of North Vietnamese down there. They've done a job on them." And he said, "Sir, I'm looking on my side. There's a lot of Americans dead down there too." We had a napalm bomb dropped on us. And at that time, my medic, Doc Burlisle, excellent fellow from Oklahoma, stood up to help the people burned and was shot through the head. We stopped briefly with him until he died, and then we moved on into the position. It was a machine gun team. One of the machine gunner came alive and started lacing down on us. And how he missed us, I don't know. You could just, see the smoke coming out. He was only about 7 yards away from me at the time. I fell away to the right, firing, emptied my magazine. My radio operator, Fantino, I looked back at him and said, "Grenade." He threw a grenade up to me. I pulled the pin, dropped it over the elephant grass on top of these guys. A matter of a few yards, that's all. It exploded, and nobody could have lived through that one. And in this regard, I think, Fantino definitely saved my life. Retrieval of the bodies was number one, our American bodies first. The smell was horrific, and Colonel Moore came forward, and he called us all around. He said, "Look, these are boys, these American boys. I'm going to send them home to their parents." And tears in his eyes. And Sergeant Plumley was there. And we promised him that we wouldn't leave one individual on the battlefield. Not one American would be left on the battlefield. I was wounded in Happy Valley. And it was a superficial wound, a piece of shrapnel on my arm. I continued to finish the patrol, which was another 6 hours or so. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. But the fact is, I lived by what I publicly declared. You publicly declare what you're about. Say, I don't believe in being a soft man. I believe in being a tough guy. Then you're going to be held to it. If you keep it in, I never keep anything in. I tell my men emotionally what I feel about them, about what I feel about our unit doing the job. And I never was let down by an individual. Never. The American, fighting man can do it. It's just that he will take an easy way out if he can, because we're an easy culture. That's the way we teach our culture. We don't teach them to, run against the wall. We teach them to use ingenuity and everything. Sometimes in war, you've got nowhere to go except straight into the machine gun, and that's what you should do. We shouldn't have been deployed in Vietnam. I don't think we should have deployed there. I don't agree with the reason we were there, and if we went in, we probably should have gone in on Giap's side. That's what I feel. That nation had no hope of being united under anybody but one young Giap. He was the man who led the triumph over the French. By us opposing him and thinking we could take puppet generals and back them up with our own American force was the utmost conceit. We in America have been very fortunate. We've been blessed with a wonderful country and everything, and wonderful resources. But don't let us think that we can be the world's top cop. And a lot of people will give the example of the big war as the Gulf War. It's a terrible example of a war. We took a long time to get going, all the big resupplies, months to get over there, months to get going. And the fight was in the middle of a desert, which is completely open. When you're talking about the future wars, we're talking about engaging in Los Angeles. We're talking about terrorist action. Terrorist forces can tie up conventional forces. They can bring them to their knees. Good example was in Beirut, the Beirut bombing, and the more recent bombing, the Saudi bombings. We're talking about no specific groups, no specific religions. For example, the Muslims, people have blamed the Muslims. The Muslims are honorable people. It's just small segments of fanatics and terrorists. And they may well be Americans, as we saw in the Oklahoma City bombing. Hunting down terrorists. This will be the nature of war in the future. Not great battlefields, not great tanks rolling. Military power is completely secondary to national will and national morality. You know, the whole of the world would get behind the idea, in the end, that individual freedoms are important, that the social contract between an individual and his government is a two-way street. But they will not get behind actions like Nicaragua, where we're backing the wrong people often, where we're supporting dictators for the thought of economic stability so that our foreign and domestic corporations can do business. And finally, I would say that the residue of hatred this is creating in these foreign countries, where we're doing these things and we don't think there are any repercussions, those people should think about the World Trade Center bombing and things of this nature. Things will come home to roost, and they may be 20 years later, of cavalier actions that we're taking now out there. And who is directing these cavalier actions? People who have never, in command and control, have never seen a shot fired in anger in their life, except hearing a round fired near the White House where somebody's mugging a tourist outside. We can't even straighten up our capital in terms of crime. We think we can go out there and be the world's top cop. It's impossible.